another episode of Pretty Suited Podcast, where career meets culture. I am Lauren A, and I could not wait to get back to record this episode. A lot has happened. How y'all guys doing? First, let me start there. How are you guys doing? I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. We're coming to the end of Black History Month. You know, a lot has been going on. Just a small pop culture recap. LeBron has made it to the NBA's leading all-time scorer, okay? That was an awesome basketball game to kind of witness, to see, you know, history in the making. He had over 38,000 points. He has caught up and surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he has also surpassed Karl Malone, and it was just a joyous moment. From the Grammy Awards to having two Black NFL quarterbacks in the Super Bowl this month, having Black politicians become the first Black governor, the first Black mayor. It's been a really memorable Black History Month. As it's coming to the close, we don't want to just stop here and not commemorate all the things that we have done and are doing in Black culture, because Black history is American history. And I just think that the conversation should definitely continue. I also am proud of myself, okay, because I said, look, in 2023, I am going to make a conscious effort to go out to network more, to do things with my alma mater, do things with friends. I said, because 2022, for some reason, like in the latter part, I found myself, being a homebody. I was at home, I was eating, drinking wine, watching movies, being creative, doing work, and I wasn't really spending that much time with friends. So I said, in 2023, I am going to make a conscious effort to travel more and to go out and network and expand my circle. I have a great group of friends, girlfriends and guy friends. But I really want to expand my circle to, include other ethnicities, other age groups, because you just never know what your circle can do for you and what you can do for your circle and how you can impact, others that way. So your girl, she went to a networking event. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind public speaking, as you can see. Well, in a way, whatever. But I don't mind public speaking. I don't mind talking to people in person and getting to know them. I was that type who was just kind of just in the corner, in the cut with my Aquarius self, just observing the room and not necessarily speaking to people. But once I became an educator, it became important for me to get out there and talk to people more often. So that has become comfortable for me at this point. However, it is different when you are in a networking event where the sole purpose of everybody in the room is to talk to each other. Like, that's just what you're supposed to do, right? So you end up talking to each other. You're trying to exchange information. You're trying to see what you have in common. You're trying to see, oh yeah, what year did you graduate? Okay, for real. I did too, blah, blah, blah. I remember this professor, blah, blah, blah. And, making small talk that will hopefully turn into, large talk. And, that way you guys you develop a relationship in some capacity, whether it's business, friendship, or whatever. So I really enjoyed that. So your girl's doing her thing in February. I appreciate my friends for pushing me and coming with me. And, that way we all are expanding our circle and our network. So yeah. So let's get into this episode. We recapped February. Like I said, it's coming to a close. We're getting ready to hit March. We're getting ready to hit spring. And I'm excited about that because I'm ready for some nice, consistent, warm weather with some trees, with some flowers and blossom. And I'm ready for that, right? What the end of February coming into spring also brings is tax time. Right? So you should have received all these, documents to be able to file your taxes. And some people owed and some people didn't. Some people got, the great refund back, and some people owed some money. So it's just a matter of what you had to do and who you claimed and all that stuff throughout the year. But I'm not going to get into that because that's a messy conversation. However, as I'm stepping more into passive forms of income as well as active forms of income, I'm starting to utilize, these different documents. And what I think is important for people to understand when we are being bosses and entrepreneurs and freelancers and contractors and all these other things, that it's important for you to, think about how are you expanding and what does that actually mean, right? You have accumulated all of these opportunities. You have accumulated a skill set. Now you have employees, to help you out because you can't do it on your own all the time, right? You have to bring in other freelancers, other contractors, maybe you have to bring in some marketers and, assistants and things like that. But as a small business, you may come in contact with some issues that you really didn't think about until you actually have to deal with it. So I saw this clip that I thought was really interesting because we're always talking about, how inflation has been outrageous, right? This past few years, and, raising minimum wage and what that really means. So check this out.
The Walmarts of the world can afford $15 an hour. The Amazon and the, Targets of the world can afford $15 an hour. The small little shop in Kansas who's been there for 42 years, business was passed down from mom and dad to them, they can't afford to go to $15 an hour. Right across the street, there's a Walmart, opens up, okay? Kids out of high school whose someone's son comes and starts working for you. Now, that guy's father says, listen, instead of working for Joey's little market that he has, go to Walmart right across the street. Joey only pays $11 an hour. Such and such pays $15 an hour. Go to them. You lose. You're going to take a hit. So, again, one side, capitalism works. Market dictates wages. Government getting involved doesn't work. And if you do force people to pay a higher minimum wage, the small business owners that produce 49% of all the jobs in America take a massive hit.
So as you can see on this clip, I think that it's important. He made some valid points because, when you're talking about raising minimum wage, it's not just a small conversation to be had, right? We speak about, inflation is crazy, like I said, but we understand too that the cost of living has gone higher. Food, eggs, because that was another big thing in February. How eggs had just been so expensive. You could pretty much sell eggs out the trunk of your car at this point because it's a hot commodity. Okay, but I think that when you do things like that, there are repercussions that happen, and it can inadvertently cause inflation to be higher. So if you're a small business person, unfortunately, you have a difficult time competing with larger companies, like he said, like Walmart or Target or whomever, who is able to afford these increases. But the, mom and pop bodega at the corner, or, mom and pop, clothing store or grocery store, what have you, they're not able to sustain having all of their employees get an increase in wages, especially without additional assistance, to kind of offset the costs, right? Or without additional customers coming in and buying things to offset the costs, right? So unfortunately, you have to, compete with these larger companies, and people may not want to, apply. And so now you have short staffing, and then another problem because then you have an issue with having staff overextended and burnt out, right? So it's just a difficult conversation because, while he said capitalism is great in some capacity where you're able to make, a large sum of money, you're able to kind of plan your own business out and you just reap the benefits as they come, but you end up having increasing prices so much that even the consumer can't even purchase anything. So not only do you lack resources, you lack staff, and now your customers aren't able to buy anything because things are so expensive and you had to increase your costs, then you're going to end up in a bad situation. And a lot of businesses go under that way. A lot of businesses go under that way. And so, as I'm even learning how to be a businesswoman, you have to think about these things because it's more than just, oh, I'm starting a boutique and I'm just going to, do what I need to do. Okay, that's great. But if you start to, have employees or even if you're just by yourself, well, unfortunately, the cost of the materials have gone up. The cost of shipping has gone up, right? The cost of the printing has gone up for them to print, the design on your shirt. So all these things has gone up. So now you have to charge more to be able to, at least turn a profit. But then your customers are upset because now that favorite shirt or the favorite line that used to be, maybe $20 a shirt is now 35. And they're like, I don't want to pay the 35. I ain't paying the 5. Okay. That's what they're saying. So you end up having to, try to offer discounts or whatever, but you still may not come up in the black. You still may not make a profit. So you just think about these things, as tax time is rolling around, making sure you keep all your receipts, making sure that you are, having your documents in order, making sure you're able to write off things that need to be written off, making sure that you are accounting for your expenses, keeping your business expenses different from your personal expenses. And that way you're able to see where you are at the start of the year. Because people don't really plan for this time of year. People don't really plan for you having to account for what you did for a whole year. And if you are really, wanting to keep your ducks in a row, make sure you're doing all of this stuff throughout the year as well. I don't care if you have to get a manila folder packet from Walmart or whatever to keep your receipts in, a labeled folder, or get a QuickBooks and keep your stuff, uploaded to QuickBooks and in organized folders, whatever you have to do. And this is not something that people teach you. People just tell you once you go on Instagram and you just see all of these people just living their best life, driving a new Mercedes Benz and going to Dubai and all stuff like that. You're like, shoot, I'm trying to run my own business too. But it's more than that. It's more than that. It's more than that. And sometimes it can be a bit of a headache. And, you have to just be proactive rather than reactive, and it'll save you a ton of headache later on. So it's just a lot that goes on when you start to reevaluate what kind of business you want to have. How are you going to be able to support yourself? Are you going to be able to just do the business alone? Are you going to be able to have a 9 to 5 on the side, or vice versa? And then also making sure that you're accounting for where your business is now. You may not need all the bells and whistles with the nice huge building in downtown with 38 employees and blah 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 if you're not there yet. Let's talk about that too, because some people aren't necessarily realistic. They want to look the part, but it may not be where you are right now. And then you end up spending more money than you actually have coming in. So yes, you want to have quality. Yes, people, you need to look the part, because a lot of times people really just mess with you based on how you look. I understand. However, you still don't want to, spend all the money before you even get some coming in. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So, be realistic in what you have going on. And, because you don't want to end up like the gentleman said, having all these expenses and you can't keep up as a small business. And then now you're ending up out of business. And also, too, you guys know nothing is free. So, yeah, they can increase the minimum wage all day long. All day long. Okay. However, if you increase salary, they're going to increase everything else, because they're like, oh, they can pay for it. Do you think that your $5 increase in pay is just coming out of thin air? No, 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 no. It's not, I promise you, because at the end of the day, because they think you can pay for things that are worth $5 more, they're going to charge $5 more. That's a sad truth, but it's the truth. You never see, a government where they increase your salary and nothing else increases. That just doesn't happen, unfortunately. We would love to see it happen, but I guarantee you groceries are going to increase. The housing market is going to increase. Whatever is going to increase just to pay for that, because that's just how it goes. And speaking of that, I think it's important too, like he mentioned, to understand your worth. So let's just push aside, the business owner. If you're somebody who is looking for work in an employment, you want to be mindful exactly what your worth is, right? You can undersell yourself or you can oversell yourself, right? So for example, if you have 10 years of experience as a waitress or a retail person or an IT person or whatever the case may be, you have to account for how many years of experience you have, what you can offer to the business before you can go ask for a raise or, go to a new employer and ask for a salary. If you don't know how to do most of the things that is on their bullet points of job, description or objectives, then you can't go in asking for the top, range of the salary. If the salary range is from 50 to 60,000, you can't go and ask for 60,000 if you don't know how to do majority of the bullet points on a list. That just doesn't, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to end up training you to get there, and you are not worth the money at that point. On the flip side, if you can do that job, if you're more than capable, have the experience or whatever like that, you need to advocate for yourself and ask for what you're worth. Because if you undersell yourself numerous of times, then they're gonna end up getting a bigger part of the bargain because they have all your skill set and they're not paying for it. Because let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, you can end up doing a lot more than what the job description even says because you're so talented. So now they end up getting maybe 2 or 3 jobs in one for one price, which is still a low price. So just be mindful of what exactly you can do, what you can't do. Be realistic about that, and then advocate for yourself to get what you're actually worth. Because let's say if you want a position that you really would like, right? Let's just say a manager's position, right? You can do the job, but they don't have the budget to pay you what you're actually worth. You can still negotiate, right? Yeah, people forget. You can still negotiate and say, hey, you may not be able to give me the top of this range, but how about we do this? Maybe I work a flexible schedule. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but a lot of places have a flexible schedule where you can say, I'll come in at 9 instead of 8, and I'll leave at 6. You're still doing your 40 hours a week, but it's in a different time frame. Or let's say, maybe they offer one remote day. Or let's say they may pay for, some training or certifications that you may need to get to the higher range. So I feel like there's always some room for negotiation when it comes to things, especially if you don't think you're getting the actual salary that you deserve. But it's always good to get your foot in the door and see where it goes, but still negotiate some things that make you more comfortable with accepting the position. That's been extremely helpful for me in the past, and that's something that a lot of job seekers kind of forget because they're so focused on the number that they don't really think about the other things. I say this all the time. In a few episodes, I've pretty much advocated for learning about the other benefits that your job can offer, because those things can make a difference in just how happy you are there. Because you can have the high range all you want to, but if they're not flexible, you're stressed out, you got rigid schedules, and they never let you take off, and then it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy because you don't have those other things to kind of offset the work-life balance. So yeah. So speaking of worth, knowing your worth is going far beyond just the career. This is a career and culture podcast. So knowing your worth can apply to both areas, right? Knowing your worth when it comes to personal relationships is just as important as you knowing your worth at work. And why do I need to say this? Well, a lot of times people can advocate for themselves at work all day long. The boss is doing me wrong. This is some bull. I'm ready to get up out of here. I'm leaving. I'm quitting. They can do that all day long. But when it comes to setting personal boundaries and knowing their worth when it comes to their platonic and romantic lives, girl, blah. Those people can't. Quiet as a church mouse. Quiet as a church mouse. And that's because they don't think it's as important, but it is. It is. And what happens is people end up in situations that they don't want to be in because they never said anything. On the flip side of that coin, people can know their worth, but confuse it with being extremely picky. Yeah, I said it. You can know your worth all day long, but when it comes to you looking over people who genuinely care about you, that's when it can become a problem. So check this clip out and we'll talk about it.
There are single women with no kids who are college educated.
Yeah.
And they are having trouble finding mates because they're like, I'm at this level.
Yes.
And I'm looking for someone to elevate me, and I'm not finding a lot of candidates that are going to meet me or improve me. And I think that is what a lot of people are missing.
I think that's an excuse, though. There are educated women out there who can find good men, but the real question is, what they're not going to tell you is how many successful men that are on their level or above their level that they passed off for silly reasons.
That's true.
See, that's something they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's what we don't know. We just hear, I can't find nobody.
But
no,
what did you do to run him off? Like,
yeah,
that's the question.
but you're not gonna hear But you're not gonna hear how many of those good successful dudes did you turn down? How many did you not give your time to?
So again, y'all, we've had this conversation before. Unfortunately, we have come to an age where women are just as qualified, educated, and knowledgeable of things just as much as men are. And with that being said, we're making more money, we're taking on leadership roles, and we're living our best life, right? And unfortunately, due to the population and where things are, how culture is, I personally don't think that the pool is as equal when it comes to who has what. So what I'm trying to say is that most women with money or excess or leadership, they want a guy to have just as much, if not more, than they have. Because of where we are, the percentage of men, especially black men, having just as much, if not more than black women when it comes to success, it's just not there. And so just like that woman said, however, it can be an excuse though. You don't want to look down on someone just because they don't have everything that you have. Because just like the woman said, you could be missing out on a very good person, a very good mate, partner, if you don't not necessarily settle or compromise, but actually look into who this person is and the benefits they can give you in several different ways. And just like in the conversation we just had about negotiating, it's just coming to me. It's just coming to me. Just like we just said about how when you're negotiating your salary, you can't necessarily focus on the number. You can negotiate other things to make that number appealing, right? So if you're looking for $80,000, but they can only give you 70, but you only work 4 days a week in the office and 1 day remotely, is it worth it? Maybe. It's the same thing goes into a romantic relationship. If that guy does not make $85, $100, $200,000, what else does he offer? Because let me tell you something. If you get a guy who makes $200,000, but he's never at home because he's working all the time, he's emotionally unavailable, right? Because he's such in a leadership role. He's so stressed out. He has no time to be emotionally intelligent, right? So, or he is just a complete dick. You know what I'm saying? That's an issue too. So I'm not saying that you got to go to the bottom of the barrel, but what I'm saying is if you make 150 and the guy that you're dating makes 90, okay, but he is attentive, he's caring, he's funny, he cares about your mama, okay, he's, a good lover, he's all these things, then what is the big deal? You have to be able to make it make sense. There's no need for you to surpass somebody just because they don't have the exact number that you're looking for. Because let me tell you something, the way this dating pool is with pee and poop in it, you have to be realistic. You have your standards. Nobody's telling you to jeopardize that. But you cannot overlook good people for the sake of wanting an unrealistic number based off of just statistics. Finding a 6'3", cut up in shape, Yale educated, tall, dark, and handsome, who loves Jesus, is funny, clean, attentive, and loyal is like a unicorn. It's a unicorn. Let's be honest here. So the chances of every last single woman getting the same kind of guy is just not going to happen. So let's be honest here. And you have to take a realistic view on what exactly is important to you and what's not. Because if not, if being married and being in a long-term relationship is your goal, you overlooking everybody that comes across your path because they don't make six figures is absolutely it's an unrealistic way to live. I'm just going to say that. And just like you're not just your wallet, neither is everybody else. So now we're going to get into our watch list of the week. So this week's watch list of the week is about a show. So I tuned into Netflix and I saw that the Upshaws was renewed for a season 3, and I was like, oh, I got to turn this on. So I literally binge watched the Upshaws from like 8 p.m. to like 2-3 a.m. So if you don't know, the Upshaws is a show starring Mike Epps, Kim Fields from Living Single, and a host of other things. She's a director, producer, as well as Wanda Sykes, who is one of the greatest female comedians that we've had. And they are on this show, and it is, let me tell you something, this show is a hot mess, okay? I really, really enjoy this show because, it kind of has a lot of 90s vibe to it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what it is about 90s sitcoms, how they had, I don't know if it was the comedic timing that they had, the way it was written, how the audience laughs, how they prompt them to laugh, or I don't know what it is, but majority of the 90s sitcoms have the same kind of format. And the Upshaws, what I like, it mimics that format. Mike Epps is a mechanic. Kim Fields, she is, I think, a health administrator, at a hospital and things like that. And then Wanda Sykes is Kim Fields' sister, and she owns the shop that Mike works at. So they are just absolutely hilarious. Like the way they dig at each other, it reminds me of Martin and Pam from Martin, but they ultimately work together to get things done. And I just love that show. So they came out with their season 3, and I binge watched it. And it was so good. It was funny, and they definitely setting you up for a season 4, which I can't wait. And the reason why I'm bringing this up in this episode is because a lot of the episodes this season was about knowing your worth. It was about Mike knowing his worth, what he brings to the table. Although he messes up in a lot of situations, he still is a good mechanic, right? And then Regina, why I keep calling her Regina? This girl is not on Living Single anymore. Kim Fields, she is doing doing her thing too. And she knows her worth. She knows that she's a really good health administrator and she brings it to the table, period. And, she's trying to get folks to see that, including her husband, right? It has some good takes on the modern family. Especially you dealing with, kids and other people's kids and, whatever. I'm not going to give it away, but it does a really good job at explaining what the modern family goes through and how they gonna get through it. So check that out. It is called The Upshaws and it is on Netflix. For our tune of the week this week, so y'all, I don't know if I've said this before, but I am a podcast aficionado. Okay, like I listen to podcasts all day long. So one of my favorite podcasts is the Joe Budden podcast. I listen to it all the time. I'm a huge fan of the show. I love how they produce the show, and I love how the different personalities come together, and it teach you so much on that show. It's hilarious, but they also teach you a lot on that show. So they have this segment called Sleepers, where Melissa Ford, who is now a new host on the show, she brought up a song on the sleeper portion called Prosecco, I guess like the wine, by an artist called, I want to say it's Thando. It's TH, the and sign, and then O. So I'm assuming it's Thando. He has a song called Prosecco that came out, a while ago, but when she played it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the vibe. Like, this is what I'm trying to hear right now. And, I don't know what it is, but since 2023 started, I have been on a particular vibe that has been very chill, Cali, top down, sun shining type vibe. Like that's what I've been on, and that's what I've been drawn to. So when she played this song, I instantly put it on my playlist. Like, this song Prosecco is giving, I have no cares in the world and I'm with my boo and we going to the beach. That's what it's giving, and that's what I'm trying to be doing. So I'm like manifesting it in some kind of way, I guess. But this song has been on repeat. It is a tune. It is a vibe. So please check it out. It is called Prosecco by Thando. And you're going to love it. You're going to love it. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we can definitely keep the conversation going. Let me know what you guys think about the songs. Let me know what you guys think about the Upshaws. I look forward to hearing the stories about small businesses, how it's going for you guys, how you're able to, expand, how you're able to get started, like all those things. Like, leave a comment, share it with your friends, have a discussion about it. I really, really, really want the conversation to just keep going. Pretty Suited is definitely about starting a conversation, starting thought-provoking conversations amongst African-American women specifically, and as well as anybody else who can identify with what we're talking about. I wanted to create a platform where I talk about the things that I care about, and I know that the women around me care about the same thing. So we really just need to have a space to be able to be your little ratchet, just a tad, okay? But also have intelligent conversations, because we got a lot going on in our life. We got a lot going on. And, from family to relationships to our careers, like all these things are important to us. Our health are extremely important to us. So, we want to be able to talk about it and actually, make this shit make sense. Okay. So anyways, you guys tune in next time. And we will be back to discuss more, and you guys have a great rest of your week, and bye.